to another video. It is me, Desiree. It is time to do a little recap on Shop My Stash. So at the beginning of the month, I decided to start working through my eyeshadow palettes, and I literally just picked out 3 or 4 of the first ones in the row, and I'm just gonna work my way through every single palette that I own this year. Hopefully I'll get to them all this year. And that's pretty much what I did. I did pick out a couple of other things to use this month, and I'm just gonna go through each thing, tell you if I liked it or not, what I'm gonna declutter, and yeah. So let's start with the palettes. The original palettes I picked out, I think were these 3 here. So I picked out the Kat Von D or KVD Shade and Light Eye Palette. And I hadn't pulled this out in a long time. And I mean, it's pretty. It's a really nice neutral, like kind of cool toned eyeshadow palette, all mattes. I always found this very difficult to use. The matte formula for me just doesn't blend, and I've had this for a few years now, I think, and I've always found it difficult to use. But I love the packaging. I loved when this came out. It was like a piece of makeup history, and I couldn't bring myself to let go of it. But when I pulled it out again, I thought maybe it'll be better this time. Maybe I use eye primer now, or my skills are better, my brushes are better. I thought maybe something has improved to make me be able to use this palette now, but I was wrong. This is so freaking hard for me to use. It worked in the video that I did at the beginning of the month where I put this on, and it worked great, and I was like, oh wow, this is gonna be awesome. It didn't work not one more time after that. I tried so hard with this palette. I used a ton of the shades. I just find this matte formula really hard to work with, really hard to blend. It kind of sticks there and it doesn't really move. I had a really hard time with this, and I grappled with whether or not to declutter this because I want to keep it. I want to keep it to myself, but I'm never going to use it. I'm never going to use it again. It's really hard for me to get any use out of this palette at all. And I know if I put this on Poshmark, I think somebody would buy it and like it and love it and use it. And I'm sure there's people out there that love this palette still and would love to have it. Now that I'm looking at it again, I'm like, no, I can't do it. What should I do? What should I do? I mean, obviously I should declutter it, but I can't. Dang it. Okay, I'm gonna set it aside. I'm gonna set it aside. We'll come back to you. The other piece of makeup history, at least YouTube makeup history, Lorac Pro Palette. I pulled out this little baby too because, I mean, the packaging, amazing. It's like a nice soft matte, and it's another really neutral color scheme, but you get one whole row of mattes and one row of shimmers, and each matte has a corresponding shimmer. So this made eyeshadow so easy. I would just dip into each one, matte all over the lid and crease, and then get the shimmer that's right underneath it, pat it all over the lid, boom, eyeshadow done. I really enjoyed this a lot, and I liked this a lot more than I remember. I wasn't really looking forward to using this, to be honest, because I remember it just being too pigmented. It kind of fell everywhere. It was too pigmented. It made a giant mess on my eyes. I don't know if this just has some age on it now, so maybe the shades aren't as pigmented as they once were, or if I just learned how to deal with eyeshadows like this now. But I really liked this. I enjoyed it quite a bit, but I don't find myself wanting to reach for this anymore. Once I pulled it out for Shop My Stash, I was like, okay, I got my fill of it. I know that I like it, but I'm not gonna pull this out all the time and want to use it. I don't know why, I'm just not drawn to it. But again, another piece of little makeup history that I think someone else would really like. Like, I don't think they make this palette anymore. I mean, it's beautiful. Like, again, I'm like, no, I could just have both of these in my makeup archive up there and every now and then pull them out and go, remember this? But I'm sure there's someone else out there that would use this and not just pull it out and say, remember this, and look at it and then put it back. They would actually use up the eyeshadows. You know what? I'm gonna do it. Let's declutter it. Gonna do it. And then the third palette I pulled out was the Flower Beauty Jungle Lights eyeshadow palette. I was so excited about this. I used this a lot and I loved it. So it's 6 giant pans of eyeshadow, but they're like super foiled. Like, if you go like this, you're gonna mess up the shadow. You gotta put your finger and then like gently kind of swipe. Super pretty here. I used all of these colors. I think they're so nice. Very full-on pigment, shiny, wet, glossy beautifulness. The only thing with these is that they did fall out on my eyes a little bit throughout the day. I'd get a lot of sparkles down here. I didn't mind that because if I love the eyeshadow, I'm not going to mind what it does. There are some eyeshadows that I'm like, it made a mess, I hate it. But with these, they looked so pretty. I really didn't mind the little bit of sparkle that I would see down here at the end of the day. Super pretty, love it so much, definitely gonna keep it. I enjoyed this a lot. And I really loved having a neutral palette like this and then to throw on one of these super foil things on top of it. Loved this. But then I got my fill of those 3 palettes and I quickly realized I wanted to declutter these ones. So I went back again and did another pass and I picked out more eyeshadow palettes to use. The very next one I picked out was this one from Too Faced, the Shake Your Pom Poms palette. Do they still make this one? I don't even know. They make a lot of little tin palettes like this now. And I have one of these that's called something. It's the peach. Is it a mini peach palette? I don't remember, but I love it. I have no idea what it's called, but it's my favorite. Anyway, I remember really liking this one when I got it, at least I think so. I was really excited to use this one because I love the formula, at least in these little palettes that I have here. But when I used it, I felt kind of like about it. I put it on and I'm like, I have eyeshadow on, but I wasn't like excited. I didn't feel like, oh my God, I gotta use this every single day. And I used it only a couple times and thought, easy declutter, so I'm gonna let go of that one too. The next palette I pulled out was this. From Ciate, the Olivia Palermo palette. I have had this for so long. Doesn't this look like something Victoria Beckham would put out now? Like, I don't really see Ciate do stuff like this anymore. After they came out with the smiley face line, and then they did the Jessica Rabbit one, I haven't really been drawn to Ciate since then. Anyway, I've had this for a super long time, and I never use it. I still have the little paper thing. It's a lot of like really grungy jewel toned shades. They look really pretty in the pans here, but I find all of these very hard to work with. I always have. I've never really used this. I just kept it because look at it. It's so beautiful. I mean, the packaging, it's got this nice texture on here. It's so pretty. Very Victoria Beckham, I think. I did use this a few times. I never really liked anything I did with it other than this shade right here. I wore this shade twice. I got complimented on it both times. And I thought, oh my gosh, I have to keep the palette for that one shade. It's not gonna look like much in a swatch, but it's like a beautiful taupe with this insane, like fine, teeny tiny little shimmer going through it. It's so pretty. That's definitely the best shade in the whole palette. And if I'm being honest, I forgot about it until this moment. So once I stopped using this and I pulled out something else, I completely forgot about it. This is another one of those palettes that I'm like, I don't want to get rid of it because I've had it for so long, but I never ever use this. And the whole point of me working through all of my palettes was to get some use out of them and see what I actually wanted to keep and declutter. And I feel like somebody else would love this and love to have it and use it. That person is not me. Declutter. Hold on, let's put this little thing back in here. And I have no idea who Olivia Palermo is, if I'm being honest. No clue. Okay, the very next palette I picked out after I used that one was this Viseart Neutral Matte Palette. Oh my gosh, another piece of makeup history right here. I remember when I bought this, I thought I was absolutely crazy because this palette was $80. $80 for this. I don't know. I remember when the brand started selling stuff more to the everyday consumer. It was kind of like a big old, I don't want to say a big controversy, but it was kind of because the price was so freaking high and the packaging was kind of basic, but I really like the packaging. I love a clear plastic packaging in anything. I think it's so cool. But the formula is so good. I'm gonna put this on right now. I didn't put eyeshadow on this morning. And I used this a lot. Once I had worked my way through all of these other palettes here, this little stack, and then my next palette I pulled out was this. This was all I wanted to use. It was so nice, so easy to blend. I'm just gonna grab one here just to put it on. And I thought, is this gonna be as good as it once was? And yes, Yes, it is. I also have the Viseart, I don't know remember what it's called. I feel like it's Grand Matte or something. I can't wait to get to that one in the palette shop my stash that I want to do. Just a little something on the lids there. But these are so pretty. I used a ton of these shades. I didn't get to these ones here, but I used the top, these 2 rows here and that one right there. I like it. Love this. Gonna keep it forever. It still works. It's still good. But I wasn't done. I went back for more palettes and I pulled out 2. These are the last 2 here. These are both from the Harry Potter Ulta Beauty collection that they did. I did a video on each one of these palettes like every single day. I put up a video swatching it and putting an eye look on and I loved it. It was so fun. But this one here is the Ravenclaw palette. And this is one I was kind of nervous about because I don't remember it that well. And every time I used this, I loved it. These blue shimmers here are so pretty. Look at that. Oh my goodness gracious. Ooh, loved that color. The mattes were really pretty. I loved everything out of this palette a lot. Gonna keep it. And then I also pulled out the Slytherin palette. Again, loved this color scheme so much. The palette still performs. The mattes are still smooth and blendable. The shimmers are so creamy and buttery. Ugh, look at that. So, so, so nice. Ulta Beauty has a lot of really good products in their permanent line, but I don't find a lot of success with their one-off collections like this. So I was shocked at how good this was and how good it still is. Really love it. So of all the palettes, these are the 3 I'm gonna keep and I am gonna let go. Actually, no, keeping this one too, the Flower Beauty palette. But I'm gonna let go of these 4. The Kat Von D, Lorac, Ciate, and Too Faced. And then the other stuff I pulled out was the Flower Beauty Jet Set Invisible Powder Spray. So this is an aerosol setting spray. Watch, let me spray it here. I bought this for a Flower Beauty video I did like 2 years ago or last year, I think, for drugstore month. And I never really got a ton of use out of it. I did use it a few times this month and I didn't really like it. It sprays a little too direct, so I find that I have to be going like this before I start spraying, just so it'll already be spraying in a nice, even way. Because otherwise, you're just gonna get like a crazy amount of white right here, a big white circle on your face, and then you have to work to get the powder to move around. It's okay. No, it's not. I don't like it. It's not even okay. Don't like it, wouldn't recommend it. A gimmick that did not pay off. No bueno. I pulled out the Pixie by Petra like lip thing in the shade Honey Sheen. I used this a bunch. It's nice. It's a nice little lip gloss. Let's put it on. Mint. I always forget. It's nice. It's smooth. It's lovely. There's nothing wrong with it. I'll keep this and continue to use it. It's nice. And then I pulled out these 3 blushes right here. Was that everything? Oh no! There was some stuff underneath my cloth. Okay, there's more stuff. The Tarte Park Avenue Princess Bronzer was the next item I wanted to talk about. I have had this one for so long. I want to say 5 years minimum I've had this thing. I gotta look back on my videos and see when I bought this because I'm sure I showed it in a haul or something. It was like a limited edition packaging that they did. I've had it for a long time. I've loved it for a long time. But for some reason this month, it just did not work for me. It never ever looked good. I don't know what it was. It just didn't work. I could see the shimmer too much. It was too dark. There were days it wouldn't blend. Maybe it was the stuff I was using on my face too. Maybe this just didn't work well together. I don't know what it was. I mean, I'm gonna keep it because this is one of those things that I will keep forever. Unlike some of these palettes, this is one of those things I'll keep even if it stops working. I just have a weird connection with this bronzer. I have to keep it, okay? Although it didn't work for me this month, it's still gonna stay, still gonna stay. I pulled out the Milani Cheek Kiss Liquid Blush Highlight in the shade Luminoso. Again, I tried this in the video that I did at the beginning of the month using all the Shop My Stash stuff. And I liked it in that video. I never liked it again after that. It's funny how many things I like when I use them in the video at the beginning of the month. And then as I use them throughout the course of the month, it's awful. It starts like showing itself to me instead of trying to impress me right off the bat. And then it's like, you thought I was good, didn't you? Anyway, what am I talking about? So it's a liquid highlight in the shade Luminoso. So it kind of has a little pinky coral color to it, but it's too dark. It's too dark for me. I tended to just use it as a blush and then put my blush on top of it. It was fine. I guess I could use it up that way, but it would just be a way to use it up. I didn't really notice I was using it. I never thought it looked pretty. It was just there. I don't want it. I'm gonna declutter it. And then I have 4 blushes to talk about. I pulled out a J Cat Beauty Blush Mallow in the shade Tutti Fluffy. I didn't use this once because I fell in love with the other blushes I picked out. I didn't even reach for this not one time. I honestly forgot. It fell to the back of the drawer and I only remembered it now when I went to pull the products back out. So this one I'm gonna keep because I do like this, but I didn't use it at all this month. The 3 blushes I was in love with are these ones here. These 2 from Rare Beauty. This is the liquid blush in the shade Hope. This is a little sample guide here, but you will get a ton of use out of this little guy. This color is so beautiful. Look at that. It's so pretty. Obviously that's like a full-on swatch. You really just get 1 or 2 tiny little dabs of this and blend it all over your face. This one I think blends and looks a lot like easier. Does that make sense? No, it does not. Okay, this one blends a lot easier, looks a lot nicer. I feel like I can put a little more of this on and still blend it out to look nice. This one, this is the shade Joy. I have a little bigger sample size here. This one is a lot more pigmented than the other one is. This is one you literally need 1 dab like that. Like, don't even get full on with the applicator. I use the other side where it's not like a bunch of liquid, just to dab a little bit and then blend it all out. Like 1 little dab will do a ton of blush. Such a pretty color. I use these both a lot. They're lovely. It doesn't make me want to go buy more of these because I don't really get the appeal of having the most pigmented blush in the world. It doesn't make blush fun for me. I like to dip into the pan or squeeze out a lot and use it, or like not a lot, but I want to be able to just use it and not have to be afraid of it and be like, okay, that's enough blush. I don't get the satisfaction of using these, but they are very pretty and I am going to keep them. But the high pigment thing, it's not a draw for me. Okay, but my most used of the month was the Glossier Cloud Paint in the shade Puff. I loved this so much. I used this more than I used any of the other blushes. I forgot how freaking pretty this was, and I haven't used it in a long time. In a long time. I'm not wearing it today, of course. I'm wearing the Iconic London Cream Palette, the blushes that are in there. But I used this every single day, not every day, but pretty much most days. This is the one I wanted to wear. So here's a little swatch of it. This is a really satisfying blush to use. It's such a pretty freaking pink. It's pink, but it has like, it's leaning more, I think, towards orange than pink, but not orange. It just has the most beautiful undertone. I love it so much. And I loved applying it with this brush from Wet n Wild. I don't know what this is called. I feel like it was an angled blush brush, but this brush with this blush was like dynamic duo here. And I don't know what made me want to reach for this. So I would get this, I'm using my left hand here, but I would get this and I would mush the blush all into the bristles, and then I would just stipple it all over my face, just like this. I'm not getting a ton on because that swatch was pretty much dried down as I swatched it, but this is how I would put it on. And it was so pretty. It went with every single eye look that I put on. I think this pink color, there's just something about it. Like, I don't think it looks baby pink like the packaging might lead you to believe. It does lean a little bit more warm, at least on my skin tone it did. I freaking loved this so much, especially with this brush. I did blend this out with a sponge a few times and I found it to be a little patchy, maybe just because the sponge was kind of picking it up and putting it down a lot. I found with this brush from Wet n Wild, it was so good. I did try this with other cream blushes and I did try it with the Rare Beauty ones, but since you don't have a lot of product to work with this, it just wasn't working to blend it with a brush like this because there wasn't really product to work into the brush because you literally needed a dab, a tiny little dab of this. But anyway, that's it. I think those were all of the products I shot my stash for this month. So to recap, what I'm letting go of, are the Kat Von D palette, the Lorac Pro palette, Too Faced Shake Your Pom Poms, the Ciate Olivia Palermo, and the Cheek Kiss thing from Milani, and the powder spray from Flower Beauty. Everything else I'm gonna keep and still love and still enjoy, especially this. Oh man, this blew my mind. But that is it. Let me know some things you shopped your stash for this month and how it went. I would love to know. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe so you don't miss my next one, and I will see you later in another video. Goodbye.